Blessings to you on this Thursday in the second week of Advent. A reading from the 6th chapter of Joshua. Now Jericho was shut up inside and out because of the Israelites. No one came out and no one went in. The Lord said to Joshua, "See, I have handed over Jericho to you, along with its king and soldiers. You shall march around the city, all the warriors circling the city once. This you shall do for 6 days, with 7 priests bearing 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. On the 7th day, you shall march around the city 7 times, the priests blowing the trumpets. When they make a long blast with the ram's horn, as soon as you hear the sound of the trumpet, then all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat, and all the people shall charge straight ahead." So Joshua, son of Nun, summoned the priests and said to them, "Take up the Ark of the Covenant and have 7 priests carry 7 trumpets of ram's horns in front of the Ark of the Lord." To the people he said, "Go forward and march around the city. Have the armed men pass on before the ark of the Lord." As Joshua had commanded the people, the 7 priests carrying the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the Lord went forward, blowing the trumpets, with the ark of the covenant of the Lord following them. And the armed men went before the priests who blew the trumpets. The rear guard came after the ark while the trumpets blew continually. To the people, Joshua gave this command: "You shall not shout or let your voices be heard, nor shall you utter a word until the day I tell you to shout, and then you shall shout." So the ark of the Lord went around the city, circling it once, and they came into the camp and spent the night in the camp. Then Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord, the 7 priests carrying the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord passed on, blowing the trumpets continually. The armed men went before them, and the rear guard came after the ark of the Lord, while the trumpets blew constantly. On the 2nd day, they marched around the city once and then returned to the camp. They did this for 6 days. On the 7th day, they rose early at dawn and marched around the city in the same manner 7 times. It was only on that day that they marched around the city 7 times. And at the 7th time, when the priests had blown the trumpets, Joshua said to the people, "Shout! For the Lord has given you the city. The city and all that is in it shall be devoted to the Lord for destruction. Only Rahab the prostitute and all who are with her in her house shall live, because she hid the messengers we sent. As for you, keep away from the things devoted to destruction, so as not to covet and take any of the devoted things that make the camp of Israel an object of destruction, bringing trouble upon it. But all silver and gold, the vessels of bronze and iron, are sacred to the Lord. They shall go into the treasury of the Lord." So the people shouted, and the trumpets were blown. As soon as the people heard the sound of the trumpets, they raised a great shout, and the wall fell down flat. So the people charged straight ahead into the city and captured it. Then they devoted the destruction by the edge of the sword all the city, both men and women, young and old, oxen, sheep, and donkeys. After wandering in the desert for 40 years, the Hebrew people finally reached the land that God has promised them, only to find that it is already occupied. To gain this territory, a tired, unarmed, and untrained people will have to defeat the well-defended city of Jericho. God has called Moses to heaven and has made Joshua leader of God's chosen. God gives to Joshua an unheard of and absolutely crazy plan to defeat Jericho. Instead of attacking the city, silently walk around the outside of the city until the day I tell you, and then shout as loudly as you can. Notice that the Ark of the Covenant is part of this parade. The Ark is a box that carries the tablets of the 10 Commandments that God gave to Moses. God's law is part of God's salvation. God gives the word, the people shout, and the walls of Jericho crumble. God's promise is fulfilled, and the wandering people have a permanent home. Let us pray. God, so often you call us to do what seems unbelievable, impossible. Break down the walls of our doubt that we may fully trust in you. Place the walls of Jericho on your tree as you remember a time when something happened that seemed really crazy or strange, but turned out for the good.